The world of Middle-earth is a very big place. Throughout our adventures, we may not always be able to spot the little details hidden within it. This series is a love letter to the creators of Lord of the Rings Online and the man whose great work inspired it. Here are 10 things you may have missed in Ered Luin. Before the addition of High Elves, the Elf introduction was the earliest point of the Middle-earth timeline that could be encountered in-game. The fall of Hellion takes place around 2400 of the Third Age of Middle-earth, 540 years before the Quest of Erebor, and 600 years before the events of the Lord of the Rings. The story of how Gandalf convinced Thorin to take Bilbo on the Quest of Erebor was never told in The Hobbit. However, Tolkien expanded on this in the Unfinished Tales. In it, he wrote that Gandalf visited Thorin in Ered Luin twice, once to convince him to take a burglar, and the second to tell him the burglar would be Bilbo. Curiously, in the original dwarf intro, we see Gandalf during the first visit, and in the new intro, we see him during the second. I wonder why that changed. During the dwarf intro, the statues around Thorin's Gate are of Skorgrim Dourhand. However, once you're in present-time Thorin's Gate, all of the statues are restored to Thorin and Thring. The dwarf and elf starter experience was actually changed later on in the life of the game. In the original version, elves started in the refuge of Hellion. Instead of a quick sequence, the experience actually contained various quests to accomplish and fleshed out the attack by Skorgrim Dourhand more than its current replacement. If you've ever visited the Silverdeep Mine, you may have noticed various elven ruins within it. These are there due to a confrontation with Talagan Silvertongue and Skorgrim Dourhand hundreds of years ago. Elves and High Elves are unable to attack critters. While not specific to Ered Luin, this is where I first spotted this nice little Easter egg to the elves' love of all things living and good. Unlike the rest of Middle-earth available in-game, Ered Luin is the only zone that does not directly connect to another zone from a geographical perspective. In fact, until the Mines of Moria released, it was the only zone that you could not reach without passing an instance line. This is because between Ered Luin and the Shire Zone, which is how it's connected in-game, is the entirety of the Far Downs, which is a region of the Shire that is not in-game as of today. Hopefully we'll get to see it soon. The prelude to Volume 1 Book 1 is split in two for the elves and dwarves of Ered Luin. The elf story focuses on the capture of a young elven prince by goblins under the Order of Dwarves, while the dwarf story focuses on the Dourhand dwarves' treacherous dealings with the goblin. If you've only played the elfin trope, you would assume that the Longbeards were complicit to the kidnapping. Thrain did not take his people from Erebor to Ered Luin without cause. There were once two great dwarven cities within Ered Luin, Nogrod and Belagast. These fortresses were destroyed in the First Age of Middle-earth during the War of Wrath. While unverified, it is believed that Thorin's Hall was built on the ruins of Nogrod. Slightly south of Celondim, there is a beautiful park that was created for roleplayers to have an isolated and interesting place to roleplay. When Ered Luin was redesigned, developers considered having elves start here, but it was decided to keep this place for the roleplayers instead. And those are 10 things you may have missed in Ered Luin. Is there anything you feel that should have been in this video? Leave a comment below and I'll make sure to add it in a future video.